Hey, what's going on? It's James here with Crypto Common Sense, and I've got a market or a Bitcoin market update for what is today? Thursday, I guess. Thursday, September the 17th. At least it is in UK time. So, going to jump into the content. We're going to talk about some Bitcoin charts. We're going to talk about some total market cap charts, and I'm going to talk about Boeing just because I want to give you guys a little bit of a TA lesson. And Boeing is a stock that a good friend of mine's been trading quite a bit. So we had a phone call about it today, so I wanted to share some of that with you guys as well. Before I jump into the content, please do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and of course, if you have not already, make sure you check the description for a link where you can join my Patreon. That helps to support the channel. It's just $7 a month. Also, if you're not interested in a recurring billing, there's a link down there for Buy Me a Coffee. You can throw me a tip, $3 if you enjoy the content. So, first thing we're talking about is let's do Boeing. Let's do Boeing first, and then we'll do Bitcoin, or perhaps we'll do total market cap next. So my buddy is not a trader. He has a full-time job and makes pretty decent money at his full-time job. But he started day trading last year, like a lot of people, right? Had a little extra money. Let's fix this chart a little bit. Had a little extra money, decided to do some trading for fun, and found out that he was pretty good at it, right? Made quite a bit. But what I think he does understand it, but sometimes he likes to rib me, but he likes to gamble a little bit with his money, and he doesn't follow textbook TA. So he's been gambling a lot the last 6 months, and he's made a lot of money, and he really has, on this pump, because it's been so parabolic that basically, as long as if you weren't using stop losses, basically in almost every case, you were fine for the last 6 months, which is not trading. That's very rarely the case. That's kind of how crypto was in 2017. That's what got a lot of people in trouble, is they got used to this idea that if you bought it and it went down, you could just wait and it would come back up. I remember telling my wife one time, stupidest thing. She didn't like the fact that I was trading. It reminded her of when I played poker for a living, which she was not a fan of. And I remember telling her, well, this is different. This is like, trading with a bumper. Like, if you've ever been bowling and they put those guards in the gutter so you can't get a gutter. I was like, this is like trading with the bumper guards, because if I buy it and it goes down, if I wait long enough, it comes back up. Yeah. That worked fine in 2017. Didn't work so well in 2018. So that's what I was telling him today is, hey, you've been making money because we've been in this parabolic rise. But if we flip over to a bear market, you're going to find out really quickly how bad that is. So we were looking at this Boeing chart, and I posted this chart in the Facebook group. And I said in the group, I asked people, if you see this chart, what would you do? So here's what I would do, guys, right? When I see a chart like that, this first thing I do is I look for patterns in these charts. So in this Boeing chart, there's a very obvious pattern here. This is very, very easy to see. This is indeed a descending triangle. Oh, I'm short on Bitcoin, and I just got an alert that it's under 30 RSI, so I'm going to go check that real quick, and then we'll get back to this Boeing. Hey, all right. Yeah, keep going down, buddy. Actually, I don't care if it really keeps going down. I did open a short on Bitcoin up around 10,940. I opened one in 11,011. Closed it for 0.5%, and then I opened a new one around 10,940. So I'm up about 1% on it, but ideally, kind of want it to bounce because it was a smaller position. So I'd like it to bounce to 11.2 so I can load up on a full position, but maybe I don't get that bounce. We'll see. But back over to Boeing here. This descending triangle, very easy to see. But one reason is not enough reason for me personally to take a trade. I always want to look for other confirmations. So the other thing that I saw on this chart was this 50-day moving average. So we are in this descending triangle, plus we just came up for a bearish retest of this moving average. So what that does is that flips my bias to bear. It does not make me go short. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. I can be bearish and not short. What I want to wait for is I want to wait for a confirmation of this triangle to break. So, a lot of people will just kind of rush into this and be like, oh, it's a descending triangle, I'm going to short it. But the thing is descending triangles can be continuation patterns. They're not always reversal signals. And a perfect example of this, watch this. All we gotta do is go back here. And if you look, this was also a descending triangle. See it? Really nice descending triangle. But if you'd have been shorting that descending triangle, you know, you'd have been pretty unhappy when it went up, you know, and stopped you out, or hopefully it stopped you out. Hopefully you didn't just keep holding it and you're still stuck in the trade. But, you know, if we look over here, we've got the descending triangle, plus we've got this bearish retest. So it's looking like, okay, this is probably going to break south. And so for me, the answer, if somebody said, what would you do if you looked at this chart? I would wait. I would just wait for confirmation. I would wait for it to break this line of support. And if you think about this, I think people forget sometimes that these patterns, they're not just random patterns that you're drawing on a chart. They actually have a psychological meaning. And in the case of a descending triangle, what you have is you have people who are, you know, it broke out of this level, so it went up, came back down, you know, people get excited, they think it's a good deal, so they buy it, and it goes back up. It comes back down. Now people are still excited, but less people, so it goes up a little lower. Comes back down, there's still buyers, so it goes back up, but a little lower. Comes back down, there's still some buyers, goes back up. Comes back down, there's still some buyers left, so it's going back up, but each time there's fewer and fewer people who are willing to take a chance on that stock or asset or crypto or whatever it is you're trading. And eventually what happens, it comes back down to this line and nobody's left to buy it. All the buyers are too scared or they're already in positions, and then price collapses. So, you know, it's not just a pretty little shape that we're drawing. It actually has a meaning. There's real meaning and real psychology behind why those shapes work the way they do. So, you know, I was talking to my buddy on the phone about this. I was explaining it to him, and I was just having a Skype conversation with another friend of mine, and we were talking about the same thing. And, you know, I mean, Bitcoin's a great example of this, right? These patterns work over and over again. So this is a weekly chart of Bitcoin. Of course, this is back in 2018. You had this descending triangle that a lot of people refused to believe was legit. But if you look, you had that 19-week moving average on there, which is, you know, that line of resistance, kind of like the 50-day moving averages, right? So you had this line of resistance, plus you had this descending triangle. It came up for the bearish retest, and what happened? Boom. You know, all the people who refused to sell their Bitcoin at $6,000 suddenly found themselves holding $3,000 Bitcoin, right? So patterns, if you will trade the patterns and ignore all the noise, your life will be a lot easier, and trading will become a lot easier for you. It's not about the noise and the moon or the zeros and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to point that out. That's how I would play that Boeing chart. This is not stock advice. I'm just telling you, like, hypothetically, if I see a chart like this, whether it's Boeing or any asset, I typically want to sit back and wait for a break in one direction or the other. If it breaks north, again, sometimes descending triangles are in fact confirmation signals. You want to wait. Usually the best thing to do is wait for some type of volume. So if you have a break north and a big green volume bar, that's considered confirmation, and it's probably going to move up. Whereas if you have a break south and you have a great big red bar, then it's confirmation that it's broke south of the triangle, and it's probably going to move down. Okay. Next chart I want to take a look at, going to be the total market cap chart. This is the total market cap of all cryptocurrencies, and I posted this on Twitter and Facebook, talking about deja vu. So let me kind of explain what I'm talking about here. And we'll take the 200-day moving off, and we're just going to leave the 50-day moving average on this chart. So if we look back at 2019 and we look at the current time period, these are very, very similar patterns. Now, they're not exact. You're not going to be able to go measure, okay, peak to peak and, you know, wick to tail, and, you know, it's not a fractal. I'm not pointing out a fractal. What I'm pointing out is the similarities in these charts. So what you have back here is basically a wonky double top. It's the same thing that you have right here, okay? And then you have the bearish retest of both the 50-day moving average and the neckline of that double top, and then you had a little stutter step down. So what we have here, there's our neckline of our double top. Some people might call that a head and shoulders. That's a bearish retest. Same thing with the 50-day moving average, right? So I expect us to get some kind of pullback here, and I think it's probably going to be the dump, right? We haven't quite got to where I want on Bitcoin. I want to get to 11.2K. So I'm curious to see what comes next. I'm curious to see if we do get something, you know, like this, where it, you know, starts to fall, traps bears, and then moves back up before finally dumping, or what. But yeah, I view these as very similar patterns. I view them as double tops, and I view these as bearish retests and nothing more. Okay, so just a quick snippet on that. If we go over to Bitcoin, I'm going to keep it short because nothing has changed. Same thing I've been talking about since early September. Obviously, this was our neckline here. If you're using the tails, this is what I would call support, which is now flipped resistance. It did come up for that bearish retest, and so far it's moved down off of it. So I'll be watching that. Don't really care about RSI or momentum right now. They're not telling me anything. I do care about volume. It's been very low. So, a pump with low volume tends to, signal the end of a trend. So we'll keep an eye on that. On the 3-day Bitcoin chart, a few things to keep an eye on, right? Same levels up here, that 11K to 11.2K zone is very, very interesting to me. Also, if you look, we are currently testing with about 19 and 20, almost 20 hours to go. We're testing the top of our bear market box, which should in theory act as resistance. So far, that's what it's doing. So again, I would expect some type of move like this and then more downside. If we move down to a daily chart here, what we can see is on the RSI, we have this upward sloping trend line. I don't trust this line a whole lot. I think it's kind of a cherry picked line, but I'm going to watch it and just kind of see how things act. It does look like a bearish retest here. And if we look, obviously we've got the gaps that I've talked about in the last few videos. I'm not going to go real big picture today, just want to talk about the short picture. What I'm watching here, and the reason I'm kind of hoping this thing pumps back up, even though I'm short, is because I really want to see this thing tagged as 50-day moving average perfectly, which is currently at 11,270, and it's currently sitting right inside my golden pocket. So that's what I want. I will not be stopped out if it moves there because my stop's bigger than that, right? But if it moves up into that zone, then I can add a full trade there, and then I can try to ride that down to wherever it heads to. The first level of interest, of course, would be that 200-day moving average, right, which is sitting down around like 9156 at the moment, so 9200 is probably right, and that was support through here, and then I might take some profits there, or I might close the trade altogether. Who knows, right? I have to kind of cross that bridge if we come to it. All right, but that's personally what I'm looking for. It's very unusual to get so many signals coming in at once, right? If you look at the bigger time frame, this looks like a double top over on the total market cap. If you look at it on Bitcoin, it looks like a head and shoulders, right? That's coming up for a retest of its neckline. It looks like it's coming up for a retest of support, flipped resistance. It looks like it's trying to come up to its 61.8 Fibonacci level. All these things are bearish in nature. And, I actually saw on Twitter earlier, which is, I usually don't pay any attention to Twitter, but there's a few people on there that once in a while they'll post something, and I'm like, I really like this concept. And I did see somebody earlier post about this being an upside down cup and handle. I don't really trade cup and handles, but if you did, this would be your cup, and it would come down like this, right? So this would be your cup here. Your handle on a cup and handle typically comes up to the golden pocket, and then you get your move down. And the way a cup and handle actually works, it's more bearish than a head and shoulders, or it's an upside down cup and handle, but you understand what I'm saying. You actually measure the cup and handle, you measure the whole range from the bottom of the cup all the way to the top of its handle. So it's about 2673, and then you measure that down from the breakout. So like, for example, if it comes up to 11.2, this gets pulled over, somewhere in that ballpark, and that gives it a target down around $8,500 or so, right? So there's a lot of really bearish signals. Of course, same rules apply. Anytime I take a trade, I'm going to make sure that I have proper stop losses set, because sometimes the market will set up something like this and it looks perfect, and you think, man, I'm going all in on this sucker. By the way, you should never do that. But you're very, very confident in the trade, and then it's actually a big trap and you get stopped. But there's a lot of similarities in what's going on in past dumps, right? If you look at all this through here, this is very, very similar to this through here. Very similar, right? One of the reasons I was so bearish back here is because you had your left shoulder, your head, your right shoulder, and it just completely demolished it. In fact, if you were watching the channel back then, you probably remember me saying I was waiting for a retest in the neckline so I can get short right there. It never came. And so it was really, really disappointing, because even though I was bearish and even though I was looking for that move down, I didn't get into a short position on it because I never got the retest. It just completely collapsed. So this is what I like to see as a trader. I like to see the retest. because this gives me an entry on my trade. All right, so we're at about 15 minutes or so. I think I'll go ahead and wrap up there. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please keep in mind that nothing in the video is financial advice, nothing in the video is trade advice. You should always do your own due diligence and seek out professional investment advice from a licensed financial advisor, which I am not, before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency, the stock market, or precious metals. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to check the link down in the description so you can join the Patreon, get access to more frequent updates, and also help support the channel. This is James with Crypto Common Sense, reminding you to please trade safe.